Hey everyone, this is Ashley Latecki Ellenboss with Sky House Herb School and Apothecary. And today I'm in my new teaching space and I'm going to share with you how to make a flower essence. And today we're going to be looking at a violet flower essence because that's what's blooming right here in Minnesota where I live. So here are the violets that I gathered just a few minutes ago that we'll be using to make for our flower essence. And before we get into this, I want to tell you a little bit about what a flower essence is and how we use them. So flower essence medicine was developed by Edward Bach, who was a physician and studied medicine for many years, practiced medicine, and was very, I think, overwhelmed and underwhelmed at the same time by the use of a lot of very heroic measures in medicine of his time. And he really felt that a lot of what was actually happening in people was more energetic and emotional imbalances. And that if those could be shifted in some way, that people would experience healing and relief from a lot of the other symptoms that they might be experiencing. So he moved way out into the country and started testing his idea, which is kind of loosely associated with homeopathy, and this idea that the vibrational essence of a plant can be used to influence the vibrational nature of people. So, what we do when we make a flower essence is we're trying to capture that energetic imprint of the flower in its natural form and capture it in water. And the reason that water is so important is that, water is really considered to be the universal solvent. It extracts both polar and nonpolar compounds in chemistry speak, but also we know that water holds energy and holds electricity. If you've ever seen, on hair dryers, it says, do not drop in the bath or do not drop in water, electrocution may happen. So we know that water is a conduit for electricity. So in the same way, if water can conduct electricity, why couldn't it also conduct subtle energy? And we know from science that plants have energy. They have these electromagnetic fields, and so do people. And so why can we not capture that same field in water? Also, the work of Dr. Edmodo, who was a researcher, and what he did is he really uncovered how much impressions are left in water by thoughts and by words. And so, for example, he had people say the word love, love, love into a certain batch of water. And another group of people say hate, hate, hate into another batch of water. And then he took a drop from each and examined them under a microscope. I think he froze them first, and that the patterns were extremely different. It was the same water, but the pattern of the water where someone was saying love was completely symmetrical and very beautiful to the eye, very organized. Whereas the water that had the word hate infused into it was very chaotic and jagged and not very beautiful to the eye. And so he showed again and again through all of these different tests how water takes on the energy of what it's infused with, whether that's a thought, a word, an intention. And if not something that subtle, why not something a little bit more physical and material like a flower? So that is the idea. And when we take flower essences, the idea is that these essences from the plant are meant to just gently nudge us back to a place of balance. It's not a very strong, potent medicine that's going to shift everything on a physical level. It's really more meant to be a subtle nudge or push in a more in the right direction emotionally. So there's a few things that are really important when you're gathering your flowers. You should try to gather them between 9 and 10 a.m. After the dew has dried. And then you want to ideally not use your hands to pick them because then that imprints your energetic imprint on them. And you don't want to use metal either because metal also conducts energy. So you should really use either wood or silicone or something that is non-transducting. So what I have is I have a little spoon here. So this is my daughter's spoon, but it's made out of bamboo, which is a wood, and then silicone, which is like glass. And what I'm going to do is show you, I'm just going to transfer them into this bowl of water. Now, when we're making a flower essence, we want to use a glass bowl. That's really important because we're going to set this outside in the sunlight. And glass is going to allow the sunlight to warm it up and also penetrate through all the sides. So you want to find, I have a colored glass bowl. You could use clear glass. Clear glass is probably ideal, but I'm using purple flowers and this is a purple glass bowl, so I think it will work just fine. And you want to ideally have spring water. So if you have a local spring, like if you live near Berkeley Springs and you can access that water, if you can buy bottled spring water, ideally not in plastic, that would be great. And if not, then you just use tap water or filtered water from your home and just take a moment and just, again, because this is energetic medicine, we can just say, thank you, water. And we can also say something like, cancel, clear. May you be clear. And just kind of take a moment with the water to thank it. And once we feel like the water is in a good place, and we are in a good place because we are the ones making the medicine, then we can start to add the flowers. And I will say, when I had our in studio apothecary at Sky House, I would always tell my apprentices who would come in that if they were having a bad day, if they were in a bad mood, to not come in and mix medicines that day, because I really do believe that the energy that you have and the mood and emotions you have can really influence the medicine that you're making. So, and this is especially true when making really subtle medicines like a flower essence. So we just want to be very mindful of the mood we're in. And I just like, the way that I do it is I just look at how beautiful these flowers are. And I just try to stay very present, just very present to what I'm doing and to really seeing them and really let the flowers be seen and enjoyed. You could use, I'm using the spoon, but you could use chopsticks. That can be, if you're adept at chopsticks, that's a nice way of also being able to gently pick them up. And here's what we're going to do. We're just going to gently guide them plop, plop into the water. Okay. Now, once they're in the water, I don't have to submerge them. I'm just going to move the water around a little bit. And I might use my spoon here just to spread them out so that they can all just be dancing on the surface of the water and be spread out like this. And the reason why I want to collect them between 9 and 10 a.m. is because that's when the energy of the sun is rising. And so the idea is that when you want to put these flowers outside under the sun, you want to capture that building, rising energy of the sun. And then you want to, once it reaches that midday point, like 12 o'clock noon, depending on where you live, but once it reaches that midday, then you pull it out from the sun. And then that's when you do the next stage, which is adding the alcohol to preserve it. So this is just part one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a sunny spot and place it outside for 2 to 3 hours, right? And really let the sun warm the water and really start to infuse the energy of the violets into the water. And, some of the chemicals from the violet are going to be infused in here too, but that's not really what we're after. We're really more after just the energetic imprint of what this flower contains. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what this particular flower represents and how we can use violet medicine. So this is the one I just made. And then I have another batch here that we're going to use that I had out in the sun for a few hours. So this is my batch that I gathered this morning. I'll just move this one out of the way. It doesn't look much different. They're a little bit more wilted. But really not much. I mean, they're pretty alive. And, one thing that you can do as well, if you don't want to kill a flower, like let's say it's a lady slipper that you want to gather flower essence and you don't want to pick it because it's an endangered plant. Another method is that you can actually just place the bowl of water underneath the plant and use a stick. So let's just imagine that this is the flower. And you can use the stick to just gently guide its head into the water and then let the stick just rest there. So I'm not going to put my finger in this water because this is the violet essence. But if you could do that, you could have that flower head without having to harvest the plant, soak in its essence, and it won't damage the plant as long as it's done gently. And then after a few hours, lift the flower head out, and then the plant is still intact and you've captured some of its essence. So that's just another strategy. Okay, so now that I have this plant material here and it's ready, now it's ready to go to the next stage, which is to create the mother. And the mother tincture is, it's basically the name for the starting material. And what I could do with the mother, I could do a lot of things. I could take that as a medicine, but I could also dilute it again and again and again, which is often what is done in more commercial or large scale flower essence making. And part of the idea is that the more you dilute it, like in homeopathy, the stronger it gets. So you can dilute it many times, and as long as you have 1 drop of the original, you could do more. You could do half the original and half your solvent. But no matter what that is, you'll still have that essence because the energy of the plant infuses itself. The energy is in the water. And when that water touches other water, it influences that other water. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this Pyrex here, and I'm going to use some measuring spoons. And I'm going to grab a strainer. Let's see, let's use this strainer here. This will be just fine. So I'm going to use this strainer. I could also individually pick out all the flowers from the, I could pick them out or scoop them out from here, or I can just pour them through. So I'm just going to pour them through into here. And I'm going to fill it up a little less than a cup, because what I want to do is I want to have 20% of it alcohol so that it will preserve it. And the preferred alcohol is brandy. Now, I don't have any brandy here yet, so I'm just going to use an alcohol blend that is, it's an organic blend that one of my students ordered from a distillery in Frederick, Maryland called the McClintock Distilling Company. And they make an organic, 100% organic wheat-based vodka. So this is a vodka, and both vodka and brandy are about 40% alcohol. This one actually is 50% alcohol, which means it's 50% alcohol and 50% water. But for flower essences, we really don't want that much alcohol. We want just enough to preserve it. So I'm going to use this vodka and just fill 20% of that to keep this from spoiling. So I'm going to take this, and again, I have just about a cup. I don't know if you can see a little better. That's okay. So you can see here, I've got like maybe 3/4 of a cup full of my flower essence. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of my alcohol. And then what I will do is I will grab my bottle. So I just have this is a 15 ounce or 15 milliliter or 1/2 ounce bottle with a dropper. And that's a really nice way to take your flower essences, is with a dropper bottle. So I'm just going to mix this a little bit, and I may actually use the wood part of my spoon just to make sure it's nice and mixed before I pour it. And then I'm actually going to take a little sample here and taste it. Oh, that tastes really nice. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll just pour this in. That's why Pyrexes are so nice, because you can pour them. It's a lot easier than a glass jar. Put my top on. And that's it. Now I've got my flower essence right here. And I want to label it so that I know exactly what it is. And then to use this, I would just take several drops on my tongue as needed. And so I might really want to work with violet regularly. So I might say, okay, I really want to work with this essence for 3 weeks, and I want to take it 3 times a day. So I might take 3 drops. I think that was 4. 3 drops 3 times a day for 3 weeks and just see how I feel with this medicine. So let me tell you a little bit about violet and violet medicine, and let's look at it while we talk about it. So violets are shade-loving plants. They like to grow under the shade of trees, of bushes, of other small plants. And you maybe have heard the phrase, she's a shy violet. And so they are kind of shy plants because they do like to hide behind things or under things. And so the flower essence of violet is for people that have many talents and skills that are not recognized by other people and maybe not even recognized by themselves. They may feel really undervalued, underappreciated, or even have a lack of self-confidence. They may not even feel like they really have what it takes to make it in the world. There can also be constriction around the throat and the throat chakra, difficulty communicating, difficulty speaking. There can be tightness in the throat, or like rawness in the throat. And again, that can be caused by anxiety, especially social anxiety. And so violet is very, very gentle. It doesn't break the gates open. It doesn't force you to public speak. It's just a very gentle medicine that says, you know what? I see you. I see you being shy, but I also see your beauty. And I also see that you can speak up and you can share more than what you're currently offering. And playing small actually doesn't serve anyone. So when we take this essence, it can really help to build our own vision and how we see ourselves, and be able to really communicate clearly and openly and powerfully. And this can change so many things. This can change how we feel emotionally. This can change our physical body, tension that we carry. So even though this is an energetic medicine, the reaches of it can be very, very far and very profound. So I hope this was interesting, and I'd love to hear if you've worked with violet medicine, how you've used it, if you make flower essences, how you've used them and how you make them, if you have any other tips for our listeners. And I really look forward to offering more hands-on classes in this new teaching space. Right now, I just finished teaching a medicine making class for my year 1 apprenticeship, and I've got some, can't really see it here, but I've got some reishi and dandelion root decocting here on the stove that I'm going to make a broth out of. And we also cooked some wild greens. So this is, I made some wild nettles and cooked with onions and wild dandelion. And then I have a little dandelion flowers and and some of the violet flowers in there too. So this is my lunch I'm going to eat after I record this. So I'm going to go eat this now with a little bit of rice, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Have a great week.